Let's get right into this. We're Oregonians, we make Oregon content, and we just spent the last year really exploring Oregon waterfalls basing out of Portland. And these are the 7 best waterfall hikes near Portland, Oregon. We're going to start this list off with my favorite waterfall hike in the area, Tunnel Falls. This hike departs from the Eagle Creek trailhead located 40 miles east of Portland, and it will make you pucker up your cheeks as you will be walking along exposed rock with some pretty serious cliffs and without much shade from the sun. And at 12 miles round trip, 2,000 feet of elevation gain, it is tough, but you get rewarded with the iconic waterfall that's been popularized on social media where you get to walk through this really damp, mossy tunnel behind the waterfall. It's just super cool. And then another quarter mile up the way, you get to Twister Falls, which is just a really nice picnic area and a good space to chill before the long walk back. Also, there's a bonus waterfall on your way to Tunnel Falls. If you don't want to do the full 12-mile hike, you can do about a 4-mile hike to the iconic summer swimming spot, Punchbowl Falls. Both lower and upper are really cool. The whole spot is definitely worth checking out. Next up, we have the most famous waterfall hike in Oregon, the Trail of 10 Falls. This epic loop of waterfalls is located in Silver Falls State Park, just over an hour from Portland, and it is one of Oregon's biggest natural attractions. It is a stunning 8-mile loop trail with a bunch of offshoots to other waterfalls that could easily push your hike to 10 or 11 miles, but it's more of a walk than a hike. There isn't much elevation, it's very manageable, it's just long and quite crowded in the summer. But this is just a really cool place to explore because a lot of the waterfalls you can walk behind, which is super cool.
So this one has a really big overhang, probably 100 feet you're into this rock cliff. And then obviously you've got the waterfall pitching out over it and you're just looking down this canyon. Beautiful, beautiful waterfall.
And I think my favorite is North Falls because it's a swimming hole.
What are you gonna do? Come here and not swim? What are you doing? Go swim. Come here and go swim.
Next up is a waterfall adventure that is pretty wild and not too many people do, Abiqua Falls. This is either a 5-mile hike or under a 1-mile hike, depending on your car type. Let me explain. Any car can get to and park at the first parking lot. But to get down to the second parking lot, you will either have to walk in or you'll have to have a vehicle with high clearance, decent suspension, and sort of know how to drive off-road. You just gotta drive really carefully. This road is seriously no joke. Don't believe me? Look up the comments on All Trails. They warn you. Once you get to the bottom, the hike in is a little bit of a scramble down. There are some ropes to get down to the river. You gotta kind of rappel, and it's not that bad. Then you hike up the river, and then it just opens up into this giant basalt columnar amphitheater. It's just insane. You've got this 92-foot waterfall, Abiqua Falls, pouring into the pool below. It's a really great waterfall if you can get yourself there. It's a tougher waterfall to get to. It will get busier throughout the day though. It's just so picturesque. Next up, we're heading east to the east slope of Mount Hood, where Tamanawas Falls awaits. This is a 3.4-mile round-trip hike with very little elevation, but a great waterfall. This is the farthest fall from Portland, driving-wise, on the list, but one of my favorites as it's a little more isolated and certainly gets you away from the crowds. This 110-foot isolated waterfall pours off a lava cliff surrounded by a thick forest, and it just makes you feel small against this big sheet of water. Next up is Ramona Falls, which is technically sort of on the way to Tamanawas from Portland, so if you want to have a pretty big waterfall day, I would pair Ramona with Tamanawas, but it'd be a big day. Ramona is a 7.1-mile round-trip hike that is in my top 3 favorite waterfalls in Oregon. A cool element on the way to the falls is the river crossing that you have to do. There are some down logs, and you gotta make your way across. It's pretty fun. Be careful, it can be a little bit sketchy. This trail starts as an in and out trail, but then splits into a loop about halfway. And on the loop portion of the trail, I recommend the north section. It's just way cooler, both temperature-wise, but also just more enjoyable. You parallel the stream through the woods. It's just green and dense and gorgeous, where on the southern it's more barren. It's kind of, you're exposed to the sun. It's just a rocky environment. But regardless of your way, once you get there, you'll see how unique it is. It's a 100-foot fan waterfall that just cascades down. Got this cool little bridge. It's just a great kind of place to have a picnic. It just feels like an oasis here, honestly. Next up, we have a hike from Wahkeena Falls to the most famous waterfall on this list, Multnomah Falls. But I really think this waterfall hike is the perfect hike for everyone. It's a perfect distance of 5 miles round trip. You get some nice elevation gain at 1,500 feet, so you get a little workout in, and you get to see a bunch of different waterfalls. Now, my favorite direction to do the loop hike is from Wahkeena to Multnomah, because at the end, if it's a hot day, you can cool off in the basin of Abiqua Falls.
Obviously, this is sick, and definitely my favorite waterfall on the hike. Cool little swimming spot. Oh my goodness. and I have a brain freeze, but absolutely worth it.
And then you end with Multnomah Falls, which is a nice reward because it is a beautiful waterfall, but just note, parking here is crazy. Multnomah Falls is crazy. There's always tons of people. It's definitely the craziest hike on this list in terms of chaos and popularity's sake. So start this hike early, get it done, move on. Next up, we have Wahclella Falls. It's just a really nice hike at 2 miles round trip, only 300 feet of elevation gain. It isn't too popular, yet it's still in the gorge and just past Multnomah. It is a unique 2-tiered slot waterfall that pours into this pretty big basin. I've never swam in here, but I have seen people swimming here. Looks great. I'll probably do it next time. Wahclella is just a really cool hike and a great alternative to the craziness that happens by Multnomah. But please note, I guess with a lot of these adventures, there have been reports of thefts in the parking lot. Here specifically, it's a little more isolated off the beaten path, so don't leave valuables in your car and go explore.